Good evening. Good evening. This is Dr. Wiley White Jr. of Goodman Creek Baptist Church, and we're sponsored today to join in our group, Power to the People. This is a community town hall, community talk show, where we bring issues to the forefront, hold political parties accountable. We also look out for the issues of our community and yours abroad. As stated before, we have a widespread audience that goes across the country. We're in a small area, so there's only so much that we can cover. We have a lot of followers that follow us throughout the nation, from New York to Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alaska even. So if there's any issues that you want to bring to from your community that you'd like for us to discuss, just inbox me at any time, and we'll be glad to research your issue in your community and help you bring some light to it and empower your people, empower your community. So today we have the second part of youth violence in our community. And what we are trying to do is to come up with ways of intervention and also preventions. On last week, we had a group with us, two young men that have a powerful outlet in Greenwood, South Carolina, at Piedmont Technical College called Models. And they have an intervention program for young people that try to lower the violence there, and they've been very effective. So they came on to share with us the different types of models, the different types of ways that we could be proactive instead of reactive. And so today, we are bringing in and partnering with some local law enforcement. Now, we have contacted several, but the three that's with us tonight, man, they jumped right in. They have been very commendable for how they've communicated and just energetic to partner with their community to try to help their community. So I'm excited that we have three sheriffs and three police chiefs, two police chiefs and one sheriff. And the sheriff is out of Chesterfield County, and we'll bring him up. He'll tell you a little bit about himself. And out of Pageland, we have a police captain there. It's the interim chief, and Chesterfield, South Carolina. And I do want the public to know, of course, we are in Cheraw. I've been over backwards to contact Chief Thomas, but no response. And I'll let you make out of that what it be. He's not an elected official, so I'm not sure we can hold him accountable to us, as I would like to hold all officials accountable to the people or to the community. However, we will be having the mayors on in the near future of each of these cities and towns within the counties and surrounding counties. So we look forward to that. So we're not going to be long on the time. We got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And so we're going to bring up Captain Dean Short from Pageland. All right. How you doing there, Captain, again?
Good. How you doing, sir?
Good. I want to introduce everybody to Captain Short, Dean Short. And again, he jumped right on to the invitation. And I admire the police and law enforcement that's eager to make partnerships and pathways for rapport with their communities which they serve. So, Captain, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself. I know most Pageland probably know you, but the surrounding areas may not know you.
Yes, sir. I've been in law enforcement for 21 years. Been in Pageland now as the captain for about 4 years. And for the past several months, I've been serving as the interim chief for the Pageland Police Department.
Okay, all right. So Pageland, I don't know how you make your decisions out there, but I'm telling you, he was one of the first ones. My assistant said they were very kind. They jumped right on it. They really wanted to partner with their community. So thank you, Captain. All right, we'll bring up next Chief Hewitt from the big town of Chesterfield, South Carolina. All right, Chief is another one. He jumped right in, and I really, it makes me feel good to know that law enforcement are interested in their community. So he's one also didn't think about it twice. Like, hey, what time and place? So, Chief, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, Dr. White, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this virtual town hall talk show. As he said, my name is Eric Hewitt. I'm the police chief here in Chesterfield. I started my law enforcement career out in 1997 with the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office. I held various positions there. I started out as a jailer. I was also a road deputy, canine handler, narcotics investigator. And in 2005, I joined the South Carolina Highway Patrol. I worked there until 2011. The Highway Patrol just wasn't for me because I wasn't in my hometown, my home county, serving the citizens where I lived. I was either here or Lancaster County, and the position as police chief come open, and I accepted it, and I've been here since 2011. Best job I've ever had. I enjoy the citizens that we serve. I work with a great group of guys. And again, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
All right, thank you for being a part of it. We appreciate you. And last but not least, we have Sheriff James Dixon, better known as JD. So he also, actually, it's a little joke. I guess everybody, but my personal assistant, I had to hire my daughter who has her own company startup, and she helps with businesses. And so I got the message that she called, and they said, why didn't he just call me himself? So she said she had to start making some money. So, but
she did.
So he jumped right in without second thought, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys want to make a rapport with your community and the people of your community that you serve. So JD, we're worldwide for the most part. If you don't mind, I may call you JD and Sheriff. That'd be just my mind from not.
JD is fine.
Okay, but Sheriff Dixon is from Chesterfield County, but since we're worldwide for the most part, we're going to ask you if you would tell us a little bit about yourself. I know most people around here know you by now.
Well, first of all, Dr. White, I'd like to thank you, like Chief Hewitt, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes.
And most of all, giving me the opportunity to be participating in something like this on my own being at home. Take part in this and get
right.
Going. But I started my law enforcement career with the Chesterfield Police Department back in 1987. I came to the Sheriff's Office in 88, went to Bennettsville in 89. I came back here in 94. And by the time I, did those tours in Bennettsville, I had a passion for serving the public here and being a part of the community and helping people. And it's just been a glorious career for me. That's something that I enjoy. I get a chance to work with Captain Short and Chief Hewitt, and we don't always agree on things, but at the end of the day, we can make it work for the citizens of the county.
All right.
I became sheriff. My first year was last year as being elected sheriff here, and it's been a pleasure for me being sheriff. It's been a roller coaster ride. We've had a lot of things take place in the county, but with like Captain Shorts and Pageland, Eric here in Chesterfield, and we got Keith and Gerard. I'm sorry he couldn't make it, but when it comes together, we work together to make sure the citizens of the county is taken care of, and that's a plus for us because all of us know each other. I guess Captain Short, you're the outsider right now, but you came in and fit in, and all the guys have got to know you, and you've been a pleasure to work with also. And anything we can do from the county perspective for any of you all, please let us know. And Dr. White, this kind of thing is what we need in the county. We got a lot of things going on. Right. And the more we can reach out to the citizens in the community, let them know that law enforcement is just like they are. We're easy to talk to, we're approachable, but you just got to take that time to give us a phone call or send us an email. You can come by our office and ask if you got a question, but this is a start, and I appreciate what you're doing here.
All right, appreciate you guys. So we're gonna jump on in here and get started. Let's see. Okay, I got someone is asking for Sheriff Dixon, if you can get a little closer to the mic.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Daddy,
thank you, Shaq Daddy. You could should have been on here too. All right. That was Shaq that made that comment. That was good though. So
Is
he
that better?
comes good. All right. All right. So time and time again, we're broken by the news of another mass shooting or shooting within our community. And part of our healing must be the conviction that we will do everything in our power to try to keep these tragedies from happening in our communities, in our county. And I want to state also that our county is the third largest in the Chesterfield County is third largest. Am I right there, Sheriff?
Yeah, land-wise.
Land-wise, okay.
State.
Okay. In the state of South Carolina. As we face the pandemics of gun violence, we see it a lot we hear of it more in like Chicago, or Los Angeles, New York, or whatever. However, it has creeped its way into rural areas such as this. And we have a big urban city of Charlotte, North Carolina, which is not too far from us, within about 65 to 70 miles out. Only take a good hour and 15, 20 minutes to get here. And so then we're right below Florence, South Carolina. I don't think Florence sees as much as Charlotte would, of course, but we are in a rural area. However, it's easy for us to experience gun violence, and we have over the past, months or years, especially with a pandemic going on and jobs being lost. We could expect some type of things, like Sheriff was saying, things that are going on within the county. And so the statistics say that over 30,000 lives are claimed through gun violence every year. Now we know deaths are a predictable outcome of political bias, political lots, and failure to make change is the underinvestment in prevention. And so tonight, as we go into this, we want to keep a mindset of prevention and intervention. And those of you that are listening, you're welcome to comment. We'll try to fill all the comments and questions that you will have. We have a set of questions that we're going to go over, but we're not necessarily locked into those questions. If you have a question, I will entertain your question first, because I think, again, hearing from the community and building rapport with the community is most important to us. All right, so I will ask Sheriff Dixon on this because it deals a little bit more with gangs. I tell you what, let me go to Captain Short, because Captain Short is in Pageland, and we're an hour and a half away from the Charlotte area. And Pageland, you guys are only probably, 45 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's possible that the gun violence there is on an uptick for certain. So how are youth recruited to participate in the gun violence that you've seen over the years?
What usually happens with us is because we're kind of so close to Monroe, we see more, I guess, issues spilling over and coming out of Monroe into Pageland, because sometimes I think it's kind of easy to just come right across the line, and what kind of happens up there, they're mimicking down here. We're getting a lot of trouble and issues if they have, guys end up with some beef or something going on there, because a lot of them are from this area. They come back home or whatever, and things they meet up here, and stuff pops off and happens here. So we kind of get affected with them. So lately we've been working, with the Monroe Police Department, and working with the Sheriff's Department with Sheriff Dixon's guys, and which has really been a great help to us.
Okay. Now for those, Monroe it's a fairly urban city, but not as big as Charlotte, and that's only 15 miles, about 15, 20 miles away from the Pageland area. Let's see here. Let's go to what the earliest age, Sheriff Dixon, that you've noticed that kids are being affected by the youth violence? What's the earliest age?
Dr. White, I would say as early as they can get on the internet. You know, so many kids now, you see it at your school,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids are younger now. They got access to the internet. Growing up here, you know, most families when I was growing up had a set of encyclopedias. Now, if you go to a house and you visit, no one has encyclopedias anymore. Everybody carries this thing here, cell phone, and Google now is our encyclopedia.
Okay.
So, through TV and social media, as young as they can understand what's going on, they got access to gangs and you know and what gangs stand for and what they're doing. And
Mhm.
go ahead.
So the internet, what is the internet providing for them for survival? What does the internet provide for them? Just
They
the
got
group?
numbers of things because anything that you can imagine, you can find on the internet, Doc.
Mhm.
And some of these rap videos, I'm a fan of rap, but I'm not a fan of the gangster rap
Right.
and that kind of thing. Because I like different sorts of music. I listen to music a lot when I'm riding. But to our kids, these guys and girls they listen to, they give them the wrong persona of what life is all about. Because we come up in the time when we had to work for what we got.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys and girls now they either involved in the dope game, and they took the easy way. They're making these songs, but these kids think they can live that life, and you really can't live that life.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Yeah. And the sheriff department, would add that do a pretty good job in our schools. We have the SROs are connected to our sheriff department. In particular, I can speak for sure for Long Middle School, where corporal, I think it's corporal or sergeant now.
It's first sergeant now.
Great. Okay, first sergeant. Uh, he does a fantastic job with the kids. It's a big relief for me. They come up to him, they love him, but at the same time, he's hard on them for when they step out of line. So I appreciate the work y'all doing on that end with the schools, especially.
You know, when we first put Greg in the school, I had no idea that he would take that job. You know, like taking a bull by the horns.
Right.
He's involved with so many of the activities at the school. He's invited several of us to come to the school and be a part of different little seminars he's put on for the kids to teach them about how to deal with law enforcement, dealing about social media and bullying. And that's what helped Greg get the promotion he just got yesterday. I think that was his first sergeant. And
Okay.
Dr. White, that's what I want to see in all our schools. We talked about it yesterday. I had a meeting with all the resource officers. And those are the kind of things we want to see these programs in all the schools because the kids got to know about law enforcement. They got to know that we are just like them. We're approachable.
Right.
And they got to know how to handle themselves when encountering law enforcement.
Okay.
And not watch what they see on these social media videos about, you see people saying, well, I ain't got to answer this question. The simplest thing to do is the officer comes up to you and say, let me see your driver's license. Show the driver's license. He'll tell you what you've been stopped for. If you've been speeding, if he's going to give you a citation or not, you're on your way. But there's so much negativity out there when dealing with law enforcement. Some of our kids that's getting mixed feelings on what to say and how to act when encountered by law enforcement.
All right. And I want to, for those that listen abroad throughout the United States that's listening to us, one of the things that the sheriff department does there, what he's talking about now, is not just the SRO, but some mornings, I think it's once a month. Seems like the whole staff from the sheriff department comes to speak to our children in the cafeteria. They talk to them about internet. They talk to them about the most recent issues of crime. And I've seen where that's helped out a lot. I mean, even the sheriff take his time to come out. They have actually the coroner actually comes out. I mean, they really come out in big numbers, and I think that's gonna overall help us as children go to high school and get older. Because I personally don't think it just happened all of a sudden. We have to start with them at an early age. Chief, I'm coming to you right after I ask Captain one more question here. What is the group that's the most violent? What group, age group I would say?
We're seeing probably, I would say we're experiencing about 15 to 21.
Okay.
is roughly what we're seeing. Kind of right when they start getting into the teenage years, and then you've got kind of the older ones that has a pretty good bit of influence sometimes over on the younger ones, and kind of lets them, especially the ones that's coming from the broken homes and doesn't have that structure at home. We're seeing a lot of the older ones have that influence. You know, they kind of give them somebody to look up to, and they kind of can guide them in the wrong direction.
Okay. And in Chesterfield, Chief, is there a group that you see? And I understand you don't see a lot in Chesterfield, and it's probably more so Chesterfield would be more so of a transit up and down 9. But for the most part, what's the age group that you see doing the most crime, as far as youth is concerned?
Probably around 18 or 19. Like I explained to you on the phone conversation we had, we don't see a lot of. Luckily, we don't experience the gang violence that a lot of other parts of the county experiences, and I thank God for that. But if my guys make traffic stops in town, a lot of times we see signs of gang activity just by some of the things that the bad guys are having, and we've made several traffic stops lately. Got a young guy that works night shift, is doing a really good job, and he's really targeting these people that are speeding, and I mean he's doing enforcement, and he's taking a few guns off the streets with which were in the town of Chesterfield. So I mean, the people don't live here, but like you said, it's a transit between 2 different locations, and that's the age groups that we were seeing. And another thing, not to go back, what Sheriff Dixon was talking about a while ago, as far as the internet, social media, a lot of things that we see as far as, I grew up here, Sheriff Dixon grew up here. You didn't have the internet, you didn't have social media. A lot of times people, if they get in arguments or, they're back and forth, they have so many ways to connect on social media, so many different sites to go on. And, growing up, if we got in an altercation with somebody, I can remember in high school, Coach Dupree take you out on the football field and tell you to go in it, but now they want to pull guns and pull knives. And I mean, parents, and I think that's got a lot to do with parents need to make sure what the kids are looking at too. I'm not always saying, I teach a driving school class, and I tell my kids in driving school when I teach it, don't put nothing on social media that you want your mom and daddy to see. So, I think that's a big thing as far as how they can communicate with a cell phone. Cell phone does everything. You don't need a camera. You don't need a recorder. You got a telephone. I mean, you got a computer. You got it all right there in this one little thing right here. So,
all right. So for us, by way of prevention and the cell phone being, and now that you mentioned that, Chief, it draws my memory that a lot of the incidents, the violent incidents of fights, big fights, when I say big fights, I mean group fights, it happens after some social texting is going on, social media stuff is going on. And when they get to school, it blows up. So what is it that we as parents, grandparents, what is it that we can possibly do? And I'll let each one of you take a minute or two to respond to that. What is it that we as a community can do to prevent the social media quote unquote violence that leads to physical violence? And I'll start with you, Captain Short.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we see too and all is a lot of these kids get on there, and when they post this stuff on social media, everybody's watching. So I think that kind of makes some of that retaliation come through, because they kind of don't want to look bad in front of somebody else because of that respect thing, you know, and they feel like they've been disrespected. And I think parents should do kind of, you know, monitor a little bit of that. And if they see it going on, try to get in there and intervene and stop it. But, you know, so many times these kids and stuff, the teenagers, they post it, and then you got all these other teenagers that get into it, and they just keep stirring it up, you know, basically stirring the pot and keep it going, because a lot of people like that drama and like to see it. And then again, like I said, you got the kids, they don't want to be disrespected and don't want to look bad in front of their peers. So a lot of times they react in a violent type way to get back at them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Sheriff Dixon, what are your thoughts?
I think, you know, when it comes down to most of the younger kids, like the school age kids, they don't have jobs, so they're not paying for this cell phone service. Mm-hmm. And I encourage the parents to get involved with that, because, you know, even with my kids here, we can monitor what sites they go on. We can limit their accessibility by going on, and you can cut it on and cut it off. But the biggest thing is we got to get involved. The parents, the grandparents got to get involved with the kids and know that they're getting involved with the wrong things in life, and show some interest in it. Because we, as law enforcement officers, Dr. White, we can't stop it by ourselves. Right. You know, we got to have the help of the community, and that starts at home with the parents. And if they can get involved with it, limit those sites they go on, limit the activity they have, set some kind of curfews for them, that will be a great asset to law enforcement. And also it'll help us with some of the problems we have throughout the communities here in Chesterfield County.
Okay. And also prevent our children from going to jail.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. And Chief,
get in your kids' business.
There you go.
Get in their business, because just like the sheriff said, they don't have a job. They live under your roof. Basically, you know, I see a lot of parents trying to be friends. Well, you know, my child will tell you I was in her business the whole time she was in school. She's 24 years old now, and I'm still in her business. But, you know, just make sure you know where your kids are. You know what your kids are doing. I can remember my grandma telling me when I'd go out and come home, she wouldn't know I was home until she heard the gravel under the tires, and she said, "Thank you, Lord, for letting him come home." Mm-hmm. But now, I mean, you got cell phones. You can tell where your kids at all times. Just be in their business and know where to go, know what they're doing and where they're at. I mean, that's your responsibility as a parent.
That's right.
And Dr. White, we see so many times when we get involved with these kids, the parents think we're picking on them. Mm-hmm. You know, they try to use everything they see in another state happening with people in law enforcement and bring it back here. We're not trying to, you know, we're not trying to make work for ourselves. If we can have a safe, quiet day and night, that'll be the best thing law enforcement could ever have here. Yeah. But like Eric just said, you got to get in your kids' business. Because I can remember my son growing up, he would like to close the door sometime, and I would tell him, "You can close that door, but you're gonna come on one day and the hinge is gonna be took off of it." But you know, their book bags when they come home from school, go through that book bag, see what's in that book bag, make sure their schoolwork's done, because if they're in a gang, they're gonna sit there in class and scribble graffiti on the notepad or something. Right. Go through those bags and know what these kids are doing. You know, get involved with the educators. And you know, I went to school at Terrell High School, and Miss Sweeney, I know she's not doing the best right now, but and Miss Ingham, my probate judge, they had parents personal. We didn't have cell phones then. They had contact with our parents at home. They could call the house, and if we did something wrong at school, our parents knew it before we got home. And there wasn't no cell phone service, there wasn't no internet. They had that contact and that relationship with our parents, and that kept us on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I agree 100%. And for those that are listening, don't take this as we're telling you what to do, or the law enforcement telling you what to do about your child. But at the end of the day, it saved their lives. And I've been out in this world long enough, and I've been across this world with military. I did a little law enforcement in the military. But these things help save lives. Going in book bags, that saves lives. You can find a whole lot in a kid's book bag, believe me. And so I have a question from Pageland, South Carolina. Do you think cell phones should be in school? Which is a good question, very good question. Cap, since that's your area, what you think about that?
Honestly, I don't think they should be, because a lot of times, in my opinion, I believe it becomes a distraction, and kids, they won't concentrate. They're too worried about communicating back and forth and things like that. And that's some of the stuff that probably needs to be pulled out of school, and not have those things in school.
All right. Well, we'll let each one of you share in that. What you think there, Chief?
There's pros to it and there's cons to it.
Right, that's what it's a tough question.
I honestly think just say if there was, God forbid, a shooting or something in a school and you got a kid in a school with a cell phone, maybe they can communicate, call 911 and there's just so many different things. And then you got, on the other hand, as Captain Short said, if you could expect them to put the thing in their pocket or in their book bags and leave it there and use it for an emergency, then but it is a place to learn. So
All right. And Sheriff,
I got mixed feelings about it too. I think the cell phones is good to have on them, but limited access to them. And wherever you come in that classroom, it's got to be in your book bag or in your pocket. If it comes out, it's taken. And because the cell phone has its place, because a lot of parents now with Life 360, we track our kids that way, and we can know for sure our kids are at school. And it has a place, but you got to be able to have limited access to them. And that's where the teachers and the principals are gonna have to get involved with it. And they know if they got to pull that cell phone out during class, like Chief said, they're being distracted. So that cell phone needs to be taken away, maybe placed in the principal's office, and maybe give a couple warnings. And if they can't abide by the school rules, that cell phone should be taken or made to be left home.
All right. And at Long Middle School, where Principal Karen Ellaby has a policy about they can bring the cell phones on the campus. However, they can't have it on them. They have to be in a class but it's so difficult to police to actually keep the cell phones out of where they shouldn't be, because they go to the bathroom somewhere. It's always something. But that's a good question. So it's just a difficult thing to police, for one. I have a question from New York. Do these police departments have any programs to engage with the youth? Softball, basketball, games, cookout, etc. Instead of just coming in, instead of just coming into the community to make arrests. Chief, we'll start back with you.
We just don't come in the community and make arrests. I mean, we're a small agency. We actually, and we haven't done a whole lot since this COVID-19, but we're able to do a lot of proactive policing in the town of Chesterfield, simply because we don't have the call volume. My guys are able to go into neighborhoods and speak with, if they see kids on the side of the road, they stop and talk to them. When school starts back, we actually direct traffic in front of the primary school, and after we get them in, the officers go in and interact with the kids. They go into schools 2 or 3 times a day at Chesterfield. Edwards Elementary and at Chesterfield High School. So, my guys are an active part of these kids that are in our school system and in our neighborhoods. So it's not all about arresting. A lot of times when kids do things, we pick up the phone and call the parents, and if we can let the parents deal with it, that's what happens. It's not about arresting. And there's sometimes that we have to arrest youth, but it's a last resort when we do that.
Okay. All right. And Captain Short?
Yes, sir. Actually, almost coming up on 2 years now, we actually started an Explorer program for kids that, from the ages of 13 to 21. So, any kids that's interested, they get to learn about police, about what the police do, about our processes, and they actually get to ride along and participate in different facets that we do and different events and stuff. So I encourage, any kid that's in, between 13 and 21 to come talk to us and fill out an application and come join us.
So all they have to do is come to the police department and ask for the Explorer program?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We keep applications, and we'll give them an application. They get it filled out, get it back to us, and it kind of teaches and educates them about the police. And
Right.
that way they don't have the idea that that's what the police do, is just come into neighborhoods and arrest people. Because, as the chief said, that's not what we do. We try our best not to do that. We want to do more of educating people than arresting people. And because we want people to learn from the mistakes, and correct it.
Right.
So yeah, we are more than glad to to have any kids that are interested in, and even parents that are interested in what we do with the Explorer program, get in touch with us also, and we'll be glad to go over it with them.
Okay, good. I encourage that. Back where I'm from, we used to have the ride along. I think they called it ride along program, and I think it was actually the first African American police sheriff, Chief Butler in Greenwood, South Carolina. He's retired now, but sit in a police car, a young fella, very intimidated, scared to death because all the computers and everything. But it made a lasting impression on me as a young man to get into that ride along, be able to ride along and just to ride with the police. Now, of course, we didn't go to no shootouts or anything like that, or any calls for the most part. But just to sit in there and hear all the radio calls as a young person, caused me to have a little bit of empathy towards what you guys do. To hear all that and see all the computer work and stuff that goes into policing.
Well, and what it does is it kind of it introduces the youth a different side of it versus what they just kind of hear from somebody all the time. Mm-hmm. They actually get to see what we really do and what the police are really about, and that's one good thing. Like I said, having an Explorer program, I've been part of it for probably 8 years of my career. I've been a part of an Explorer program. And I can probably name right offhand about 7 police officers that started from the program, and some of the police officers grew up kind of rougher and didn't have that family bond. So they actually got, gravitated towards the police side of it and become police officers and become good police officers because they got a lot of exposure while they were young. And by the time they were to put in for a police job, they actually already knew what law enforcement was all about and knew a lot about law enforcement.
Okay, all right. And Sheriff, what type of programs? Well, I guess that's a question.
Yeah, just like the chief and the captain said, we don't just ride in neighborhoods and look to arrest anyone. But like me, I've been involved with the recreation department and coaching. Mm-hmm. And me being in law enforcement, actually tomorrow will be my 33rd year. That's my anniversary date's tomorrow. And just like you, Dr. White, you've been involved with youth. You've been coaching ball ever since I met you. You came to Toronto. Mm-hmm. You had a following of young African American men that you took around the state playing ball, mm-hmm. and showing them the right way to do things and getting involved with their parents. And when I hire somebody and they come to me and tell me they got a child that's playing a sport and they need to get off, I'm asking, why don't you coach? When you go out there and these kids see you as a law enforcement officer, not just being in that law enforcement capacity, but being a coach and being at these ball games. I come to the schools a lot, especially the high school and the middle school, and show my face at these sporting events. Even though my daughter's grown from Long Middle School, but I developed a relationship with people like Miss Mason, you, and some of the other coaches there. And I think just getting involved with the community in some of these programs, because It all boils down to dollars.
Right.
And everybody want, we don't have these programs set up, but our recreation department, those programs there through the rec department in Chesterfield through the wire, in Pageland through the rec department in Toronto. I encourage all the guys to get involved with these programs, and we can reach them that way. Because I tell you, that's what kept me out of trouble growing up in Toronto. And Eric, he probably, I guess he remembers, we used to get together with his dad on Sunday afternoon. He would get a group of guys together. And I know his dad couldn't do all of us and take us out to Caston Park, and we'll play baseball for hours out there. But that was something his dad just done on his own, just to keep us out of trouble. We spent hours on Sunday sometime at Caston Park playing baseball. But we got to get involved. As law enforcement officers, we just can't look at the job as law enforcement. We got to look at it as a community partnership, where we partner with our community to change our community, and that's where it starts at. We don't go in communities just trying to arrest people. We want to be a part of that community because, to be honest with you, law enforcement, we'd rather not be doing that. We'd rather be riding, looking pretty, and being seen, and not doing the extra work of booking somebody in jail, maybe transporting a juvenile to Columbia. If we can change one, hey, that's what it's all about.
All right. Okay. All right. We have Michael Burr. For this, I guess, an announcement more than a question. I've got a program now in development near Chesterfield, out in the country, to help these kids learn trades to prevent crime and help the whole county. I welcome the community to get involved. The results of being a volunteer in the prison ministry for 25 years. Okay. All right, Michael Burr, if you would stay in contact with us, and hopefully can partner with the law enforcement in these areas. All right. And then we have Mr. Thompson. I think that's Jeremy Thompson Jr. Besides in school, are y'all doing any community engagement to really interact with the communities you serve? So we pretty much, I guess that was the last question for the most part, but maybe Mr. Thompson wanted to probably go deeper, where if I was asking that question, to go deeper to initiating programs that you would initiate, like let's say the Explorer, for an example. That's good, but they have to come to you to sign up. With the sports program, they almost have to go to the rec. But is there something that you guys, where you take initiative to go directly to them? If there's some type of programs like, and maybe I'm not as clear, but I'll say one that's right off that I've seen in other communities like Darlington, where, and I'm not sure if that's as interactive as it is proactive, but they would, in the housing area, they would have a police station there, or county, or police, I'm not sure which one it was, can't remember, but there would be, Darlington Housing would give them an actual apartment, and they would patrol out of that apartment, not just to patrol the community, but it was an in and out, it was visible, and they were able to intermingle with the kids and with that community, because that's where their quote unquote station was.
Dr. White, that's basically what I was saying a while ago about the neighborhoods.
Okay.
The officers actually go in the apartment complexes we have, the neighborhoods, and they get out and walk and talk with the kids and interact with the kids. Do we have a per se program? No, we don't have a program, but just that police officer getting out of that car and walking up to a kid and talking to him, and a lot of times they're showing them their cars, and so I mean, yeah, we interact with the kids and the youth in our neighborhoods, if that's the question.
Yeah, that's taking initiative. I think so.
Jermaine, Jermaine, we don't have programs like that, but I can remember the time when Terrell had the Boys and Girls Club. I don't know if y'all guys, Eric remember Bobby Wright.
I don't remember that. I probably wasn't here during that time.
It was the Boys and Girls Club, was based out of Dizzy Gillespie in Terrell. And
Oh.
that was definitely a good community-based program because Bobby's gone now. He's no longer on earth with us. So he took it on himself to take a lot of those kids, same as you did, Dr. White, with the AAU basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And he introduced those kids to a lot of different things: golf, baseball, basketball. But right now we don't have those kind of programs. But like the Chief Hewitt said, it comes down to the officers interacting with the kids in the community when they're riding through, just stopping that patrol car,
Mm-hmm.
getting out, talking to the kids. If it takes 5 minutes out of their time to throw a football, shoot a basketball, throw a baseball with the kids, and let those kids know, we human too.
Mm-hmm.
We have a soft side of us also.
Right.
Well, I mean, when my officers go into school, especially at Edwards Elementary School,
Mm-hmm.
they know my officers by name. They know my name because we're in those schools. We're available to these students. And that's an everyday thing. It's not just we walk into school one day. We're in there every day. We're in these schools every day, just like the sheriff's office. The resource officers are there, and we have a good working relationship with them. If they need us, we're there. But we're in these schools and we're in these neighborhoods. I mean, there's a lot of times that my phone will ring and it'll be some youth from in the neighborhood. Or I had one yesterday to call me and say, "Chief, I need to talk to you about something. I'm out back at the police department." I walked out back, and that says a lot for our little police department that people can. I mean, that's just it's our community's so small. We know each other and we know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not like these bigger cities or bigger towns where you don't know your police. People know their law enforcement in this county and each one of these towns. I mean, we're out there and we're available to these kids.
And,
Dr. White, that's kind of the same thing what we're doing in Pageland. You were talking about having to come to us some about getting applications, but we're getting into schools and we drop these applications off and speak to them. And just 2 Sundays ago, we went to Pageland Place Apartments and we kind of partnered with Project First and the Chamber of Commerce. And we had some of our officers out there and provided ice cream for the kids and just kind of give it out and talk to the kids and interacted with the kids and let them meet the police officers and get to know their police.
so I think the report, what we've talked about in the last 10 minutes, it definitely deals with dealing with report. Now, I have a few questions that I see that's coming up that I'm going to present. But I think that with these questions that's coming up, and I could be wrong, but is not your, and I'm asking, it's not your responsibility, or is it, as law enforcement, or could you be responsible for creating programs? Because what I'm seeing coming up is, and I don't want to get off track or offend anyone, but it seems like we're putting more, and I can say this because as Sheriff Dixon has mentioned, that my investment into young people and taking initiative, along with my wife, and we've invested. So it's citizens have to be able to do something as well. But is there programs that you guys can initiate? I mean, I'm not sure if other cities, if these comments are coming from other cities, that law enforcement had actually established programs for the development, perhaps, of you. So my question, I guess, with all that said, do y'all have that program, or is that out of your wheelhouse? Is that not? I mean, I don't want to put nothing. And that might be the reason why. And this is a good reason, not to cut you off, and get right to it. And this is a good reason for this dialogue, because we may have a misconception of what you all are supposed to be as law enforcement. And so,
Dr. White, here in this county, like I would say, everything boils down to dollars and cents.
yeah.
So as law enforcement, we don't, I know for the sheriff's office, we don't have the funds to maybe start a program like this on our own. That's why we try to partnership. And not all the guys and girls do this, but we got a good group that partnership with the Y in coaching, direct department in Chirall in coaching, the direct in Pageland in coaching. we don't have these programs that directly bring these kids in, but we, for the sheriff's office, we do the backpack giveaway. I think you was a part of that last year.
Oh yeah.
We gave away over 1,000 book bags. We're doing it again this Saturday, by the way, at Chesterfield Ruby Elementary School. We're trying to give away 1,000 book bags, and we're gonna feed the kids. Everybody who come through, we're gonna give them a hot dog, a brown lunch bag, and we try to talk to them and engage them. But the biggest thing I think we can do in this county is get involved with the towns here and partnership with them as law enforcement officers.
Let's say that again. Get involved with the what?
The different towns in the county. And then partnership with the rec department, any kind of youth activity groups they have, so we can show them that law enforcement is there, being a friend, and trying to change their mindset so when they get a little older, they won't be getting into the criminal justice system.
Okay. All right.
And just to echo what the sheriff said, Dr. White, it does come down to dollar and cents. We have a limited budget here in Chesterfield. We're a small town. And like I said, we may not have programs, but my guys are out there with these kids or these youth. And the sheriff said they do the book pack drive. This past Christmas, we give presents out to over 100 families. It was by donations, and we had people to come to the police department to pick them up, and we went out in the community in the town and provided Christmas for over 100 families for the kids. That says a lot for our little 10-man department.
It sure does.
And the thing about it is, people are saying programs. I understand that, and I'm not throwing off on anybody, but I feel privileged to be the police chief here because we don't have issues in our town that these bigger cities have. I'm sure they can come, and thank God that we don't. But and I think that has a lot to do with these guys that work with me. They're out in the community, and we have a good rapport with the community, as well as the sheriff's department and the Pageland Police Department. I mean, Sheriff Dixon. I mean, actually, he was one of my training officers. You probably don't remember that, but I mean, we've grown up our entire life in this community, and that's one of the reasons why we're in these positions, because we wanted to give back to our communities. And it's not like we're strangers coming into a different neighborhood or a different town. Everybody knows us, and we know them, and we try to keep that rapport built with the citizens that we serve. I mean, and we're blessed.
Right.
And Dr. White, we want to, all of us in law enforcement want to make a difference, and we want to engage our youth. But sometimes, before we can engage our youth, we got to change the mindset of the parents. And we talked earlier about the social media and getting involved with the book bags and looking inside of them. And for all this stuff we talking about the work, we got to change the mindset of the parents too, because we can bring these kids to all these programs. You know how it is. Parents leave.
Yeah.
If we don't change the mindset of the parents, they're going back in that same environment. And we got to change that mindset.
Right. And family is everything. I mean, I had that discussion with a retired officer today. I got one more, and this is a good point. Miss Carolyn Rivers from Chesterfield. She says that we need something at the churches that could also work with them to build up our youth. So that partnership with churches and businesses, and it's just a thing that we're in this together as a community to try to work together. So that's good. And there was a question about the Big Brother program in the county. I'm not sure. We just talked about we don't have too many other programs besides what we can do.
But the one about the church, we, for the sheriff's office, we visit churches, and we try to get involved with the church. We encourage the church to invite us to their vacation Bible schools during the summer. This COVID-19, this 2020 has been a tough year for everybody, and that has limited the things we could do. And we want to be doing more, but we can't I won't put myself at risk. I went through the virus myself, and I don't want to put anybody else at risk, and I don't want to go through it again. But it's definitely a good partnership with the churches because a lot of times, Dr. White, our kids, they're not made to come to church like we were made to come to church. But
Right.
let one get in trouble, they're gonna say, Reverend White, can you pray for my son or daughter because he's going through something right now? Can you come to court with me?
Right.
But they want you to go to court with the child, but when are they bringing that child to church for you to have that relationship with them inside the church that could prevent them from getting in trouble? Those are things we got to wrap our arms around and realize that's what we got away from.
Right. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly here. I have one more question here from, then we're gonna get to defunding the police, and some racial, yeah, we'll try to real quick. Thank God for your time. But this here, Justin Johnson, sounds like you guys are big on community policing. Thank you for that. I encourage you to leave no stone unturned when it comes to community policing. More of a personal question for each of you, with anti-police sentiments being high, what has the local toll been, if any, in your area, or on your officers? And that leads us right into pretty much what we'll be talking about. And we're right up at an hour. And if you guys, we got about 5 more minutes left. If you guys have to leave, just let me know. But this is getting pretty good. I always try to get good to the end.
Dr. White, before we get into this question, break that question down.
Okay.
What he's trying to say here.
First of all, he's commending you guys for the policing in the community. So he's encouraging you to continue to leave no stones unturned. Keep doing it. So he's asking, how have this the sentiments or how these things with defund the police, the riots, all this have impacted your department, your police officers, and pretty much how are they mentally and yeah.
If you don't mind, the thing that happened with this guy in Minneapolis. First of all, people got to realize, for the majority of law enforcement, we was out front of this. We call a spade a spade. Was that wrong? What happened? Yes, it was wrong. But those kind of things don't happen everywhere. And I think by being transparent and being out front of those things and making sure that we police our own police, if you can understand what I'm saying. Like Eric polices his guys, Captain Short polices his guys. I police the guys at the sheriff's office, and we try to intervene if we see some guys or girls going in the wrong direction. We take care of our own. And just like any other organization, it's bad apples in every organization. And those people have to be pulled out before they spoil the whole group. And I think for law enforcement throughout the United States, we were ahead of that. And the rioting that's taking place, I'm against the rioting. I can understand a protest, but the rioting that comes after the protest, I'm totally against it.
So how have your deputies, even though we see it on the news, even though it's not here, we've been bombarded with news and seeing it. Has it affected them? Have they become angry? Have they become?
Some of them became angry, but the biggest thing, Dr. White, we got a lot of young officers, and they seeing what's happening to these officers that's making these mistakes on national TV, and that's giving these officers a fear of doing their job. And it's sad when you come to work and you encounter a guy where you might have to get into a shootout with somebody, and you're afraid to pull that gun because you're afraid of what the outcome could be if you wind up hurting someone. And the guys now are kind of afraid of doing their job because we got a lot of young guys. The guys that came through with me and Chief Hewitt and Captain Short came in. Those guys are guys we got coming in now are different. I think when Bill Clinton signed the NAFTA agreement and started sending a lot of jobs overseas when he was president, that started sending guys into law enforcement that normally probably wouldn't get in law enforcement. But we're getting guys now that's looking for a job and stability insurance, and girls too. And some of the tough decisions that we had to make throughout our career, we try to give them the best training. But when it happens, you don't know how they're going to respond to it. And seeing this stuff on TV now, through social media or TV, I'm afraid it's affected the guys to the point where they might be afraid to perform their duties and wind up getting hurt. And I don't know how, Eric or the chief, how do y'all see this?
Well, I think, you know, a lot of times in law enforcement, you have to make a split-second decision. You've got to be able to react. You got to fall back on your training. But just like the sheriff said, if you see, and I'm not taking away for anything what happened, but if you got officers that are second guessing their self, you know, somebody's going to get hurt. That officer or you know, it's just that you don't understand. You know, a lot of people that haven't been in those shoes can't relate to what we're saying as far as a split-second decision. I mean, you train. We as officers, we train to make those split-second decisions. And I think a lot of times the media, it just keeps filtering and it keeps filtering. And, you know, if you make I tell my guys all the time, you make right decisions, I'm behind you 110%. But if you go out here and do something crazy, that's not going to cut it.
Okay. All right, Captain.
Yeah, and they're exactly right. I mean, you got to hold the officers accountable when they do things wrong. But nowadays, a lot of officers, like both, you know, the chief and the sheriff both have said, they're scared to act sometimes. And not only that, but they carry that around with them every day while they're working, because having a fear of doing something wrong, you know, so that in itself hurts their judgment and just their general morale, because as every day as they're working and they get in that car, they don't know what they're going to encounter during that, you know, that shift or whatever, and they're scared to make the wrong decision. And a lot of them are younger and you know, they're growing in their maturity, but then you throw in the mix that they're constantly worried about what's going to happen to them if they make the wrong decision. Then it kind of sets them up from the get-go and puts them in a bad place sometimes.
Well, and another thing, not cutting you off, Dr. White, but, you know, a lot of times our officers make the right decisions and they get scrutinized for doing their job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, you got to look at it both ways. I mean, do your job and get scrutinized. I mean, so, I mean, it's, you know, it's hard on these guys out here. You know, we're not on the front lines all the time. I mean, the sheriff and I and Captain Short, we're out here with these guys, but we're not on the front line with them. Honestly, I probably shouldn't say this, but if I had to do it all over again in these times, I wouldn't wear a gun and badge. I mean, if I had to start all over again, I just don't think I could. I love my job, and, you know, but it's, you know, it's hard for us now to try to recruit people. You know, when I was coming along, or when I started as police chief here in 2011, it wasn't nothing in a year's time for me to get 100 applications in this little town. And now, I mean, I'm sure both of them can agree with me. If you get 5 applications in a month or 2 months, you're really doing good.
Mm-hmm.
5? Did you say 5?
Yeah.
And then out of that 5, if you get 1 out of that 5, you're doing excellent.
Wow.
Well, and I'm sure that, you know, the sheriff and the chief would tell you too, when we first started, a lot of times you had to wait on people. You know, some places didn't even have open positions. You had to wait for guys to retire out, you know, before you could enter into that department or promote within that department. And that's sure not what we're facing today. You know, we're scrambling trying to get qualified applicants.
And then for a small community, Dr. White, and they know, we all know this in this county, we have traded officers. I got officers went to Pageland got officers came to me, Chesterfield. I got officers went to Chesterfield, and the same thing, but you're all coming back this way. Because, you know, the pickings for good officers now are slim. And people are not looking to get in law enforcement based on what they're seeing on the national level for the TV and media. They don't want to be a part of this. And just like Chief Hewitt said, he's questioning himself now. If he had to do this all over again, would he do it? And right now, I don't know if I would right now. You know, I truly enjoy and love what I do. I really do. But it's so much pressure right now on law enforcement because they talk about defunding the police. If you defund the police department, what have you done? You have cut off the hand that feeds you. So if you take away law enforcement in any town right now, who's gonna police the town? Who's gonna make sure when grandmama's lawnmower gets stolen, who's gonna take care of it? If you take money away, we can't buy vehicles to answer these calls or radios to talk to each other or respond to the issues that's going on in the hand. That's some of the craziest stuff I ever heard of. Somebody want to get behind defunding the police department. We don't make enough money as it is, but now you want to defund us and take away the tools that we need to do our job. That is outlandish to me.
Okay. Well, guys, we over time. We have good numbers tonight. I want to thank everybody for wherever you are for tuning in tonight. I do want to echo what I would say, but it's coming from a listener, I really you guys hear it. He says, "Thank you for giving a look into how the boots on the ground have been impacted, and the public do not know the toll of the job on the officers." And
appreciate it, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
yeah, and that's been enlightening to me. I kind of sense a little bit of it, but to hear it tonight, to see it, hear it in your voices, to see it on your faces, you know, it gives me a little bit more empathy and sympathy towards you. And unfortunately, as I can remember, we haven't really had that type of situation where your officers have been found, you know, with that type of incident where they've killed someone or shot someone, or just brutality per se in this area. So, as a preacher, I definitely will put you guys up a little farther on the list with my prayers. So, but I appreciate each one of you, and I don't know if you guys know Mark Face from Darlington, a former police officer, and he's saying crap, he missed it. So so hopefully they'll come back, Mark. Hopefully they'll come back. So again, I appreciate each one of you. Thank you so much for the kindness and how you were willing to respond. And I think our community needed it. And so anytime that you guys want to come on, if it's something that goes down and you need to get something to the public, please feel free to use this platform. And I'd like to bring you back soon to see how things are progressing. Hopefully some programs get in place. And for those that are listening, I've been preaching about getting these census filled out. And Brother Mark says, you guys be safe.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
New York says thanks for having the conversation. So it's been a good crowd and a very good many people.
Dr. White, before you get off, I just want to remind everybody about Saturday morning, our backpack giveaway.
Yes, I was going to do that. Anybody that wants to make any comments or of events or something that you're having. So go ahead, share. I know you had an event that was canceled Saturday.
Stop the Violence event we was going to put it together in Pageland along with Pageland Police, with Captain Short here, the coroner's office, and myself, and the pastors for change. We gave y'all a name. We're trying to pull the community together in Pageland. We've had some violence up there. And like I said earlier, we got to change the mindset of the parents and grandparents so they can understand that they got to get more involved. But this weekend, we got the backpack giveaway. We're trying to give away over 1,000 backpacks. And please come out and get these backpacks. I'm praying that school is successful this year. It's still up in there. I don't know. They're going to be there the whole year. They might go virtual. But either way, we want to give these kids some tools to start their school year with this year.
Okay. And say that again one more time. Where in time?
Okay, it's going to be at Chesterfield Middle School, and the start time is 10 o'clock. It's going to be a drive-through. You'll get a brown bag lunch and a backpack for every kid you have with you, full of supplies. to take back to school on the first day.
Awesome. Okay. Chief, you have any events or announcements?
No, I'd just like to say, Dr. White, I appreciate you inviting me to participate.
Thank you.
You know, we're here if anyone in the community needs us, and if there's a church that's in here in Chesterfield would like to partner with the police department, and I mean, I'd be glad to work with them and try to get something started. I think, you know, two heads are better than one, so we're just willing and able if somebody would like to partner with us. And like I said, I thank you for inviting me to participate in it, and I thank these other two for joining in, and thanks for a working relationship that we have with each other.
Thank you. All right, Captain Short.
And Dr. White, same thing. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. You know, I appreciate the listeners and the engagement and just being able to speak to everybody. You know, you kind of humanize us a little bit and let everybody understand our point of views too, you know, and I'm sure the sheriff and the chief would, you know, mimic that or whatever, because a lot of times if we could just always talk to each other and start that dialogue, it goes a long way, you know, with the respect and kind of understanding what we do and how we do stuff sometimes. And, you know, things like this is really good, you know, for the community and for everybody. So we really appreciate that. And if there's anything we can do, let us know. And anybody wants to try to partner with us, the same as what the chief said, you know, we're willing to do anything that it takes, you know.
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes,
I do want you guys to see these few comments where you go, since so show that there's empathy out there for you and support for you. And
Thank you, Miss Carolyn.
yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you for your service, and Mrs. Thank you all for all you do for the communities. And
Thank you, Delaney.
Thank you, Delaney.
and Miss Marshall to the police department. Thank you to the thumbs up, I guess that is. And last, and we'll get out of the way, Mrs. and Reverend George, Dorita George. Thank you guys. Okay.
Appreciate it, Rev.
All right. Thank you guys so much again. And I'm here for you if you need me, and I'll be with you guys too as well. All right. Y'all have a
Thank you for
blessed
the
day.
opportunity.
All right, you're
Good night,
welcome.
y'all.
Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being with us on tonight. Been very interesting. Had a lot of questions a whole lot of questions to go through. For us defunding the police and more combating the racism and discrimination in police. So I hope to have them. I'll probably do another session. Hopefully we can get Sherrall in on it. Bennettsville. They wanted to be in on this so bad, but they were kind of short on their staff tonight. And so perhaps in the near future, we will have them back and we talk about some of these serious issues about defunding police and combating racism and discrimination in policing. Thank you, Mark, for that. And so next week, we're going to have some ladies on. It's going to be ladies' night. And they're going to be talking about getting through some brokenness. And it's going to be a unique scene where they will be in a studio, not locally, but in Greenwood, South Carolina. And they're going to be talking to us about some brokenness. And from that point, then we're going to spend the rest of our Tuesdays of empowerment, power to the people. We'll spend the rest of those weeks dealing with the politics and getting our people out to vote. We'll have some of the politicians that's up for office will start coming in. We have Miss Melissa Watson that's running for Congress, and Miss Hannigan is running for representative on the state. Now, Melissa Watson is running for U.S. Congress. And then we're looking to have Jamie that's running for senator against Lindsey Graham. And so we're hoping to have them on in the coming weeks, and the director for the Democratic Party in this region, she will be on the first to start it off. So thank you again. Hope to see you guys next week. Thank you guys for your comments. Thank you for your interactive. And Mark, you got to get on the ball, man. You just the second time, third time you've been late. So at any rate, you guys have a blessed night, and we'll see you soon.